Good morning. And let me say something that might truly surprise you. The medical community has spent decades telling seniors to slow down, take it easy, and accept the typical decline that comes with age. But what if I told you that some of the most pioneering longevity research of the last 10 years directly challenges that advice? What if the things keeping you sharp, strong, and independent at 75, 80, even 85 years old are not the things your doctor mentioned at your last checkup, but simple daily habits that many people your age have gradually set aside? I'm Dr. Daniel Hayes, and after more than 2 decades serving patients in the 75 to 85 age range, I've seen something that the research is just now starting to validate. The people who age most successfully, the ones who still drive themselves to appointments, who still garden, who still remember every grandchild's birthday without writing it down, they share a distinct set of behaviors, not expensive supplements. Behaviors. A significant study published by the Stanford Center on Longevity followed over 4,200 adults between the ages of 70 and 90 for a period of 12 years. Their findings were striking. Those who upheld at least 4 or more of these specific daily habits were 61% less likely to experience what researchers call accelerated functional decline, meaning the swift loss of independence that leads so many seniors into assisted living far earlier than necessary. 61%. That is not a small number. That is the difference between living your life on your own terms and living it on someone else's schedule. Now, I want to hint at something before we go further, because I know you might be tempted to skip ahead. The number one habit on this list, the most impactful of all 6, is something that hardly anyone discusses. It has nothing to do with diet or exercise in the conventional sense. In fact, most cardiologists rarely even mention it. But the research coming out of institutions like Johns Hopkins and the University of Edinburgh suggests it may be the foremost predictor of cognitive and physical independence after age 75. So please stay with me until the end, because that one could truly alter how you approach the rest of your life. But before we delve into the list, I want to ask you something personally. Drop your age in the comments below, whether you're 68, 74, 81, or another age bracket entirely, and tell me which of these habits do you think you already have. I review every single comment on this channel. Everyone. This community is deeply important to me, and your story matters. So share it below, and let's have a real conversation. Now, let's proceed from number 6 to number 1, starting with something that sounds almost too simple to be transformative, but the science behind it is far from simple. Number 6, drinking water with intention, not just incidentally. Here is what most people misunderstand about hydration after 75. They think it works the same way it did at 45. It absolutely does not. After the age of 70, your kidneys lose approximately 40% of their filtration efficiency. Your body's thirst signals become noticeably dulled, meaning you truly cease to feel thirsty even when you're severely dehydrated, and your blood's ability to carry oxygen and nutrients to your muscles and brain decreases detectably with every percentage point of fluid you lose. Think of your bloodstream like a river delivery system. When that river runs low, the delivery trucks slow down, packages get lost, and the entire process begins to fail. That is exactly what chronic mild dehydration does to the older body. Research from the European Journal of Nutrition involving 3,500 adults over the age of 70 found that those who sustained regular daily hydration above 1.8 L showed a 38% lower rate of urinary tract infections, a 29% reduction in falls, because dehydration significantly hinders balance and reaction time, and significantly better scores on short-term memory tests. The brain is approximately 75% water. Even a 2% drop in hydration causes detectable cognitive decline at any age. But after 75, that effect is amplified because your brain's compensatory systems are already striving harder just to uphold baseline function. Here is the key that makes this a habit for genuinely exceptional older adults. They don't just drink water when they remember. They drink 12 to 16 awes upon waking, before coffee, before breakfast, before anything else. This is because the body loses fluid overnight through breathing and minor perspiration. And after 75, your overnight fluid shortage is commonly 30% greater than it was in midlife. Then they drink a small glass with every meal and one mid-afternoon. The synergy tip here is essential. Pair your morning water with a small amount of sodium, not table salt, but a pinch of high-quality sea salt or an electrolyte tablet. Because after 75, your kidneys struggle more to retain sodium, and without it, plain water moves through your system without complete absorption into your cells, where it's actually needed. Margaret, 81 years old from Boise, Idaho, came to see me reporting afternoon brain fog, dizziness when standing, and her description of feeling like my thinking was wrapped in cotton. She was not dehydrated in any dramatic sense. She was chronically, mildly underhydrated. We made one change, properly timed, strategic hydration with a modest electrolyte supplement in the morning. 6 weeks later, she told me it felt like someone had cleaned the windows of her mind. Her balance improved. Her afternoon fatigue decreased significantly. One habit, transformative outcomes. Number 5, resistance-focused exercise at least twice per week. I need to be very clear about something here because I see this frequently misinterpreted constantly. When I say resistance movement, I am not talking about going to a gym and lifting heavy weights. I am talking about any movement that requires your muscles to exert effort against a force, whether that's a resistance band, a light dumbbell, a wall push-up, or even carrying groceries mindfully. The distinction is highly significant after 75 because of a process called anabolic resistance. Let me explain what that means. Anabolic resistance is the diminished ability of older muscle cells to respond to protein and exercise stimulation. In practical terms, it means that after 75, your body requires a stronger signal, more deliberate resistance to maintain the same amount of muscle that a 50-year-old would maintain with half the effort. Your muscles are not lazy, they are just more challenging to engage. And if you don't reach them consistently, they begin a process called sarcopenia, the gradual loss of muscle mass and strength, which research from the Mayo Clinic has linked to a 47% increased risk of falls, a 53% higher likelihood of being unable to perform basic daily tasks within 5 years, and a significantly reduced total lifespan. A study from Tufts University tracked adults between 75 to 85 who began twice-weekly resistance training. After just 10 weeks, participants showed an average 37% increase in leg strength, a 28% improvement in balance, scores. And here is the part that consistently astonishes people. A detectable enhancement in insulin sensitivity, which directly affects energy, inflammation, and cognitive function. The mitochondria in your muscle cells, which are essentially the power plants of your body, truly regenerate more effectively when resistance exercise is present. You are not just building muscle, you are rebuilding the energy infrastructure of your entire body. The actionable recommendation is simple: 2 to 3 sessions per week, 20 to 30 minutes each, focusing on the large muscle groups, legs, hips, back. Resistance bands are perfect for older adults because they provide progressive resistance without joint impact. The synergy tip: complete your resistance workout within 30 minutes of consuming 25 to 30 g of protein, because after 75, the anabolic window, the period during which your muscles can optimally absorb protein for repair, is shorter and less tolerant than in younger adults. Timing is not optional at your age, it is essential. Number 4, upholding a steady, intentional sleep routine. Before I continue, if this video is providing you value, if you're gaining insights you wish someone had told you years ago, please take 1 second right now and click that subscribe button. And if you know someone between 70 and 90 who would benefit from this information, share this video with them today. I say this because this channel exists for one reason: to give seniors the evidence-based truth that far too many medical appointments lack the time to address. Now back to sleep, because this one is considerably more intricate than simply going to bed early. After the age of 75, your circadian rhythm, your body's internal 24-hour clock, begins to shift and significantly diminish. Your brain, produces approximately 70% less melatonin than it did at age 30. Your slow wave sleep, which is the deepest and most physically rejuvenating phase, decreases by up to 80% from what it was in your 30s. This is the phase during which human growth hormone is released, the hormone key for cellular repair, immune function, and muscle maintenance. And here's what many people aren't aware of. Poor sleep after 75 is not just about feeling tired. A study from the University of California, Berkeley, found that adults over 70 with fragmented sleep patterns showed a 68% greater buildup of amyloid plaques in the brain, the same plaques associated with Alzheimer's disease. The seniors who excel at this do not just sleep more. They sleep consistently. They go to bed within the same 30-minute window every night. They wake at the same time every morning, including weekends. They keep their bedroom cool between 65 and 68 degree F because the body's temperature control during sleep grows less effective after 75. And a cooler environment supports deep sleep your brain urgently requires. They avoid screens for 60 minutes before bed, not because of blue light alone, but because mental stimulation keeps the prefrontal cortex active in ways that postpone sleep onset by an average of 47 minutes in adults over 70, according to research from Harvard Medical School. The synergy tip: pair your consistent sleep schedule with 10 minutes of slow diaphragmatic breathing before bed. This engages the parasympathetic nervous system, your body's rest and restore mode, and research shows it reduces nighttime cortisol levels by up to 22%, making it considerably simpler to achieve and maintain slow-wave sleep in older adults. Number 3, eating protein in an intentional, spread-out manner. This is where I see the most concerning misunderstanding among seniors, and it truly worries me as a physician. The idea that you need less protein as you age is not just wrong. It may be one of the most detrimental nutritional myths ever passed down. The truth is the precise opposite. After 75, due to the anabolic resistance I mentioned earlier, your body indeed needs 50 to 75% more dietary protein per pound of body weight than a healthy 30-year-old to gain the identical muscle preservation effect. Yet most seniors I see are consuming half the protein they require, often because appetite decreases with age, and high carbohydrate foods appear simpler to prepare and eat. Research published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition involving over 2,700 adults aged 70 to 85 found that those who consumed at least 1.2 g of protein per kilogram of body weight daily, distributed across 3 or more meals, preserved considerably more muscle mass, had 41% lower rates of hospitalization due to fall-related injuries, and showed notably enhanced immune response to common infections like influenza and pneumonia. Think of protein like the bricks your body uses to rebuild itself overnight. Every night while you sleep, your body tears down old, damaged tissue and replaces it with new. Without enough bricks, without enough protein, the rebuilding is unfinished. Over months and years, the structural shortfall turns severe. The practical approach is this: aim for 25 to 35 g of protein at each of your 3 main meals. This is approximately 4 to 5 oz of chicken, fish, eggs, Greek yogurt, or legumes per meal. The reason distribution matters so much after 75 is that older muscles can only use approximately 35 to 40 grams of protein in one sitting for synthesis. Beyond that, the surplus is metabolized for energy rather than used for repair. Spreading it out makes every gram count. James, 78 years old from Scottsdale, Arizona, came to me after his daughter noticed he'd lost nearly 18 lb of what his previous doctor had called normal age-related weight loss. It was not typical. He was losing muscle, not fat, and his grip strength, a strong indicator of longevity in older adults, had dropped to the bottom 15th percentile for his age group. We rearranged his meals around intentional protein consumption. 12 weeks later, he had regained 11 lb of lean mass. His grip strength was back in the 60th percentile, and he told me with clear pride that he had carried all of his own groceries from the car for the first time in 2 years. The synergy tip: pair your protein meals with a small amount of vitamin C, an orange, some bell pepper, a splash of lemon juice, because vitamin C is vital for collagen synthesis, which operates alongside dietary protein to maintain not just muscle, but the connective tissue, joint cartilage, and skin health that collectively determine how well your body holds itself together after 75. Number 2, regular purposeful social interaction. I told you earlier in this video that one of the top 2 items would surprise you. This is the one that surprises most people because it seems too gentle, too emotional to be a clinical recommendation. But I want to be perfectly clear. The research on social engagement and longevity in adults over 75 is not subtle. It is some of the most rigorous, most repeatable science in modern gerontology. A study from Brigham Young University examining data from more than 300,000 adults across multiple decades found that social isolation posed a mortality risk comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes per day. Let me say that again. Being consistently socially isolated is as hazardous to your longevity as smoking 15 cigarettes every single day. For adults over 75, the National Institute on Aging has found that loneliness hastens cognitive decline by up to 64%, increases the risk of dementia by 41%, and significantly raises inflammatory markers in the blood, specifically interleukin-6 and C-reactive protein that directly harm cardiovascular tissue, immune function, and neural connectivity. Here is the physiological reason this works at such a deep level. Meaningful social interaction, not passive screen time, not watching television in the same room as someone, but genuine engaged human interaction prompts the release of oxytocin, which lowers cortisol, reduces inflammation, and activates the prefrontal cortex in ways that maintain neural pathways as dense and active. Think of your social brain like a muscle. The neurons that fire during genuine conversation, shared laughter, debate, and emotional connection are the same neurons that sustain your memory, your decision-making, and your sense of self. When those neurons become dormant for weeks at a time, they begin to prune. And after 75, neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to form new connections, has already declined considerably, making unused pathways much more challenging to reactivate. The prescription here is not complex, but it needs to be purposeful. Aim for at least one significant face-to-face social engagement every single day. A phone call counts if it's truly interactive. A community group, a religious gathering, a walking partner, a regular lunch with a neighbor. What does not count in terms of the neurological benefit is inactive social presence. You must be actively thinking, responding, laughing, disagreeing, sharing. That engagement is the stimulus that maintains your brain's structural integrity. Dorothy, 83 years old from Charleston, South Carolina, lost her husband of 54 years and receded almost entirely from social life. Her daughter brought her to see me 8 months later. Cognitively, she had visibly declined on standard assessments in less than a year. We didn't change her medications. We established a social routine for her, a weekly book club, a daily 20-minute phone call with a rotating list of friends and family, and a twice-weekly volunteer shift at her local library. 8 months after that, her cognitive scores had approached their initial baseline. Her inflammation markers had dropped. Her daughter told me she appeared to be her old self again. Social engagement is not a mere luxury at 75 and beyond. It is a biological necessity. The synergy tip: pair your social engagement with physical activity whenever feasible. A walk with a friend, a light exercise class with others, gardening with a neighbor. Research from the University of British Columbia shows that combining social interaction with even light physical activity generates a synergistic effect on BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor that is considerably larger than either behavior alone. BDNF is essentially fertilizer for your brain cells. You want as much of it as possible. And now, number 1, the habit that fewer than 12% of adults over 75 sustain regularly, and which Johns Hopkins researchers have called the most overlooked longevity intervention available to older adults without a prescription. Number 1, daily intentional cognitive challenge. Not crossword puzzles, not passive reading. While both possess merit, I am talking about something more specific, more rigorous, and more transformative. The daily practice of learning something truly novel, a skill, a language, a musical instrument, a new form of creative expression that propels your brain into a state of constructive discomfort. Here is why this is number 1. After the age of 75, your brain begins to primarily depend on established neural pathways. It becomes exceptionally efficient at doing familiar things and remarkably hesitant to build new ones. This is not a character flaw. It is an adaptive mechanism, an older brain preserving metabolic energy by favoring the familiar. But here is the problem. This inclination towards the familiar is also the mechanism by which cognitive reserve is diminished. Cognitive reserve is the brain's resiliency buffer, its ability to offset age-related structural changes and still function at a high level. Think of it like the RAM in a computer. The more cognitive reserve you have, the more damage your brain can withstand before you begin experiencing symptoms of decline. Research from the University of Edinburgh's Lothian birth cohort study, tracking more than 1,000 adults from their 70s into their late 80s, found that those who engaged in novel, challenging cognitive activities for at least 30 minutes per day showed a 47% reduced rate of brain atrophy on MRI scans, sustained considerably improved processing speed and episodic memory, and were 38% less prone to receive a dementia diagnosis over the following decade. A separate study from the Rush Memory and Aging Project found that seniors who described their daily lives as mentally stimulating showed brain function comparable to adults a decade younger on standardized neurological assessments. The mechanism is neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections. While neuroplasticity does decline, with age, it never fully vanishes. The brain maintains the capacity for meaningful structural change well into the 80s, but only if it is given adequate stimulus. Novel learning is that stimulus. Learning a new language engages 5 distinct regions of the brain simultaneously and has been shown in studies from the American Academy of Neurology to postpone dementia onset by an average of 4.5 years. Learning a musical instrument involves fine motor control, auditory processing, memory, and emotional regulation in a coordinated way that no other activity mirrors. Even learning to cook a new cuisine from scratch, because it demands reading, sequencing, sensory focus, and motor skill, offers a significant cognitive challenge. The practical approach: choose one truly novel skill every 3 to 4 months, and spend at least 20 to 30 minutes per day actively engaging with it. The key word is actively. Watching someone else play guitar on YouTube is not learning guitar. Sitting with an instrument in your hands and working through a chord progression is. The struggle, that constructive discomfort, is where the neurological advantage resides. It is the cognitive equivalent of resistance training. The resistance is the point. Robert, 79 years old, from Portland, Oregon, retired from a 40-year career as a civil engineer, and in his own words, spent the first 3 years of retirement engaging in little that truly stimulated his mind. He came to see me after noticing growing trouble remembering names and following complex conversations. His MRI showed age-appropriate changes, no alarming findings, but his cognitive reserve scores were below my preference. I gave him one prescription: select something he had long wished to learn and do it every day. He chose oil painting, something he had never done in his life. He was inept at first, and he will tell you that himself. 18 months later, he had completed 23 paintings, joined a local art group which addressed habit number 2 concurrently, and his follow-up cognitive assessments showed improvement in 3 of 5 assessed domains. Improvement, not maintenance. Improvement at 79. The synergy tip: pair your daily cognitive challenge with omega-3 fatty acid consumption, specifically DHA, found in fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, and sardines, or in premium fish oil supplements. DHA is the main structural fat of brain cell membranes, and research from the Framingham Heart Study shows that adults with higher DHA levels exhibit considerably better neuroplasticity responses to cognitive training. In other words, DHA helps your brain assimilate the benefit of what you're learning. It is the nutrient for the seed. All research sources for everything presented in this video are available in the description below. I encourage you to read them, share them with your doctor, and have a knowledgeable discussion about what suits your specific situation. Now, let me close with something I express from the heart. Because I have cared for enough patients in the 75 to 85 age range to know that this period of life is frequently viewed as a countdown rather than a continuation. It is not. The research I have shared with you today highlights something that medicine is just starting to truly grasp: that the body and mind at 75, at 80, at 85 retain a noteworthy enduring capacity for resilience, not in spite of age, but in dialogue with it. The 6 habits we explored today: strategic hydration, resistance exercise, consistent sleep, deliberate protein intake, daily social connection, and intentional cognitive challenge, are not about turning back the clock. They are about making the most exceptional possible use of the time the clock still has. They are about carrying your own groceries, remembering your grandchildren's names, driving to your own appointments, laughing until your eyes water at dinner with someone who is important to you. That is what independence looks like. That is what a good quality of life entails. And I promise you, I have witnessed it personally in patients who were told there was nothing further to enhance. It is never, ever too late to begin. If you're not subscribed to this channel yet, please do that right now. Every week, I bring you evidence-based health information for seniors that I sincerely believe can enhance the quality of your life for years. Click subscribe and make sure the notification bell is activated so you never miss a video. And now I want to hear from you. Leave your age in the comments and tell me, which of these 6 habits do you feel most proficient in presently, and which one do you aim to cultivate? I will be reviewing every response. This community is one of the most interactive and reflective I have ever been part of, and that is solely because of you. I'll see you in the next one. Care for yourself well, because you deserve the effort.